Sure, abuti honestly.
Beautiful, beautiful South Africans. As you remember, about a week ago or week and a half ago, President Gayton Mckenzie had actually said that everybody within the Department of the Sports, Arts and Culture must then make sure to fire all foreigners because there is no need for foreigners in our public space where he is the minister. And in this case, find that uh, it is now a debate saying that why is it that the minister, or is it substantiated that the minister can say such words? So many of the people actually came out to actually go against this and dispel it. But we come here so that we can actually look at parties like uh, the ANC which are in government, or let's say government as a whole, and also go on to actually listen to some of these panels, which one comes from the Helen Suzman Foundation, one comes from the Department of Labor, one is a lecturer or commentator, political commentator, and one is an activist within the white shirt. And I'm going to ask you to specifically listen to this, listening specifically to the two on top, the two women. This one of the Helen Suzman Foundation, who says that it is unconstitutional to actually remove foreigners. So telling us that we must actually prioritize them only because it's constitutional. And if that indeed is constitutional, then we need to change it. Because South Africans cannot continue to starve while foreigners are actually working here. Whereas in Ghana, Nigeria, none of South Africans are working. They'll only let them work if they're slave queens, they're dancing in clubs because of their beautiful physiques, but not because of merit. So in South Africa, why are we hiring people to do certain jobs like teaching in public sector, working in public office? Why? Mara, why? We actually need to actually rid of these people. And I actually want you, South Africans, to listen to the lady in black. I want you to actually understand the depth of what is happening. We are at war. We cannot continue to have South Africans starve and struggle while foreigners are actually coming here and working. Have you seen the amount of marches happening recently? South Africans needing jobs, not having any jobs, but continuing for people to defend foreigners. I really need you South Africans to listen, patriots, listen to this lady and actually listen to her to debate about it. As much as she's being very emotional, but she needs to be, because this is an emotional thing for all of us. We cannot continue to have South Africans tell us about a constitution and then call out Mckenzie. You think you'll call out Mckenzie and you're going to keep quiet. Mckenzie is right. And specifically, I also want you to listen in to the callers. The callers who actually call in and say that we agree with Gayton Mckenzie. This is South Africans on the ground talking to you. Why can't you now listen to them?
Country where the time where we have leaders who are always nursing what other people feel, other countries feel, is really going to cause a serious problem for the country. And it's people using words like xenophobia or hatred instead of being honest with what's going on in the country. There's nothing xenophobic or hatred about saying that South Africans must be put first. But, sometimes I feel like a lot of us sit here and talk from a point of our own individual bias, and we don't put ourselves in the shoes of the ordinary South Africans. There's a lot of people that come on platforms like this and they use the platform to spew out things that they've never even experienced themselves. You've never been in a situation where you're a South African and you're unemployed and these people get jobs and preference over yourself. But it's very easy to come on a platform like this and say everyone who's advocating for that, it's because they hate you or because they're xenophobic. The word xenophobic and the word hatred now have come to a point where South Africans are no longer going to be embracing it, because we're sitting with so much unemployment. We're the highest unemployed country in the world. That is not a joke. And for people to sit on platforms like this and tiptoe around issues because we want to sound like we're a country that must nurse everyone's feelings has really come to an end. And if South African leaders do not listen to what South Africans are saying, they're going to cause a problem for themselves. You can't call the president to go against the very same people that voted for him and tell him that he must now nurse the feelings of other people coming from other countries. South Africa is a country, it's not a continent. We can no longer afford to house the whole of Africa because all of Africa has their own problems. That time has come to an end.
Yeah, we're going to analyse what's being said here a little bit more as we continue with the discussion. But Nicole, your thoughts on what Gayton Mckenzie has put forward, saying that under my watch, you will not continue to employ foreign nationals within this department.
Yes, and he goes on in that directive to say not only get them out, but if you don't get them out, I will get you out. And I should just say, I'm not here representing the Helen Suzman Foundation. I'm in fact the executive director of the Campaign for Free Expression. And together with a number of civil society organizations, we have issued a statement strongly condemning these utterances on the part of the minister. We are a nation of laws. We are a nation renowned for our constitution. It is extraordinary that a minister who occupies the position that he does feels no shame in making utterances that are explicitly and entirely unlawful and unconstitutional, that he would say to employees within his department, you must act unconstitutionally. Not only that, he has no authority, no powers to suggest that they will be dismissed. There is no authority in our constitution under the Public Finance Management Act and under any laws that allow him to bypass grievance and disciplinary procedures so as to threaten those within his department with dismissal if they don't act on his unlawful directive. I should also say that he has shown himself to be entirely financially irresponsible. Should anyone pursue, make good on these threats and act in accordance with them, they will face huge numbers of court cases, and they will almost certainly lose because our laws are clear. That will then mean that the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture will have to pay for those litigation costs and for the damages from the public funds. That will mean that there is less public funds to make services available, less public funds to make employment available. And I should finally say that the statement on the part of the minister shows that he is entirely unfamiliar with the demands of his portfolio. Arts and culture is a sector that flourishes in dialogue and engagement with others. We have a rich arts and culture section here in South Africa. One of the reasons that we're beloved, one of the reasons that we can push back against the garbage being pushed by the likes of President Trump in the White House yesterday evening was because of the proliferation of the extent to which our arts and culture sector is known and is beloved. And that has been forged not in isolation, but in engagement and partnership with this continent, with the region, and with the world at large. And the idea that we would seek to implement some sort of nationalist exclusivity within arts and culture is just anathema to what is our rich culture of arts and culture in this country.
You know, I want to bring in Professor Breakfast because you also can't, I suppose, ignore the fact that we did see a party like the Patriotic Alliance in the run-up to the... Talk to us.
Thanks, ma'am. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Ma'am, I'm worried. You know, I've been around Johannesburg for a long time now. You know, at hospitality industry in Johannesburg, we cannot say that it's hiring people at hospitality industry. It's a scarce skill. It's impossible. You see, because it's a fact that all the people in the hospitality industry, they are saving money by hiring these foreign nationals. And so how can you blame then Mckenzie if he says that let's just get rid of all these people? Because if you are controlling, you cannot say that, okay, let's leave 10% or 20% of foreign nationals, because there are people who are not going to comply, and they are going to take 90% of foreign nationals. just to save us time and we must get rid of all these people who are working there where it's not scarce skills. Because there are teachers who are sitting at home and they are not employed anywhere. But there are a lot of foreign nationals who have been employed, who are employed in most cases in private schools, even in government schools. And you just wonder, is that a scarce skill? I can hear the argument which is brought there by Breakfast. He's saying that even if they can all leave, but not all South Africans will be employed. But the question is, when are all these South Africans going to contribute in the economy of this country?
Okay.
If they are not given a chance.
All right.
And now, if you give these foreign nationals and they take all the money and send it back home, and how do we benefit?
Okay. Temba, your point is made, and I appreciate the call. Thank you so much. We'll get our panelists to respond to you as well. Mulwanta is calling in from Johannesburg. Mulwanta, good evening.
Good evening, Naledi. How are you?
I'm well, sir. Thank you so much for calling. Let's hear what you're thinking.
No, thank you very much, Naledi. I think we must face the reality and the truth about this matter of the statement of the Minister Mckenzie. And it is a problematic that whenever as South African we are raising the frustration that are experienced by South African, we have people that will normally term it to be a xenophobic. It's not xenophobic. I just want to make 3 critical examples. Actually, I just want to zoom even outside the government employment. Before, here in South Africa, who was the cashier at Spa? Who was a waiter at a restaurant? Who was a person who was helping as a cleaner in a house? Those jobs were done by South Africans. Now those jobs, all of them, they're not be done by the South Africans. And I blame the government. The government of South Africa is failing South African people big time. Because the Special Department of Labor, go to Ghana, in Ghana, one of the African continent, they've brackets the law of the country that no, certain employment or certain businesses they're only reserved for the Ghanaian people. Can you say the Ghanaian government is xenophobic? No, it's not xenophobic. But every time in the country South Africa, when it's something that was said that was xenophobic, that is absolutely nonsense.
Okay, all right.
Like that.
All right, Mulanta, thank you so much for calling in. I will continue taking those calls and WhatsApps as well. But let's talk about what to do now. You know, if we need to, of course, look at some of this data. You've got the Public Works and Administration Department also revealing, but this was towards the tail end of 2024, that we do have over 6,000 foreign nationals that are employed as public servants in South Africa. In fact, that number being somewhere around 6,200 employed across national and provincial departments and government entities. Jacinta, there is the question of what do we do? Because there is, of course, the fact that there is the legislation that is there. There is nothing that says that one cannot employ a foreign national as long as all the legal processes and documentation is there, whether that be a work visa or it is perhaps one has the documentation to have a scarce skill and that work visa is making quite a contribution to the country. So what needs to be done? Let's talk about the action point.
All right, thank you so much for that question, but I'm just going to backtrack a little bit to answer your question. So first of all, it's very interesting that every time we talk about this unemployment, we don't look at the fact that was there compliance to begin with when hiring these people who are foreign nationals. And we had videos trending for weeks and weeks of even the Department of Higher Education that were proof that even the people who are lecturers or whatever in other institutions did not comply with what is written in this very constitution that is being used against us. So initially, it's wrong the way that they're hired. But when now the minister says that this is not correct, the minister is wrong. Now, second to that, we completely ignore the fact that the minister specifically said we can't have secretaries, we can't have cleaners, we can't have people who are doing electricity. These are small skills that South Africans have, and they don't have to be imported from outside of the country. Minister specifically said these particular types of jobs, but we're not tapping into that because we want to ignore what the real issue is. Why am I getting a foreign national to come and fix my electricity, to come and be a secretary at the office? What scarce skill are they moving from whatever country they're coming from to South Africa to bring to this country? Nobody's going to entertain that because it doesn't affect South Africans. Then you ask yourself, what is the purpose of having a law that when it's put into practice, the law is going to be used to protect people who are outside of South Africa? I find it so sad that we're sitting here and there's someone saying that even if foreign nationals leave, South Africans wouldn't be able to fill those positions. Based on what research have we proven that? Based on what research are we saying today that South Africans do not deserve those jobs? And even if people vacated those jobs, those people would not be have the relevant skills to be able to fill those posts. Are we then saying that ignore the law that says that a South African must be put first on this job so that we can be able to do as we wish? Because clearly this constitution in South Africa is used to favor foreign nationals. I don't hear any of these foundations saying South Africans are unemployed, they're on the streets, their human rights are being violated by A, B, C, D. But come and say something about a foreign national who they feel their human rights are being violated. They all jump.
Okay.
You won't see these foundations jumping to talk about all these other issues where foreign nationals are being put in positions that they should not be in. Nonetheless, you said, what is the solution and the way forward?
Sure.
The way forward for us is that to make sure that the constitution that they're always taking to court, but they claim is an amazing constitution. Everyone says it's an amazing constitution, but they still take that constitution to court, is to make sure that initially you implement it correctly from the start so that you don't have to come in and try and fix things and fix them for other people that are not even South African. You have to make sure that the constitution that you're talking about and those laws that are being applied put South Africans first, because illegal immigrants as well should not even be in positions where they occupy jobs. But nobody is questioning, why are illegal immigrants working in South Africa? They don't have permits. We don't know who they are, but they are working in South Africa. None of these foundations will come and question that. And you ask yourself, why?
All right, okay, your point is made, yes, and then we will come back to you. You know, addition. Get rid of foreign nationals. Those are the words of Minister Gayton Mckenzie of the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, where he allegedly instructed his department's manager to do exactly that, saying that under his watch, no more foreign nationals will be employed in that department. We're asking what you make of it. Andile's calling in Durban. Andile, good evening. Thanks so much for being part of the conversation. What do you think?
Good evening, Naledi, and good evening, your panel.
Good evening, sir.
Two quick points, Naledi.
Sure.
I think when we're talking about these things, we need to be very sensitive because people, the South Africans, they always say it's about xenophobic, but it's not xenophobic. Think about these graduates that are on the street every day asking for the government to give them the job. And those people are South Africans. They are graduated and they don't have the job and they're not given the opportunity. Now, most of these foreigners working, Mckenzie is right. It's not to say it's going to finish the rate of unemployment, but a certain percentage that will be employed by the government in these places of the foreign nationals would be better. It will at least decrease the number of the graduates that are not working. It's not to say that it's about xenophobic, but I think the minister is 100% correct. Nadeti, thank you very much.
Andile, thank you so much for calling. We do appreciate it. Of course, we're talking about, according to the last data that the Department of Public Service and Administration had, the latest data that they had was around 6,200 of those jobs. But they continue to collect more of that data. Deborah is in Germiston. Deborah, good evening.
Good evening, Mrs. Malero.
Thank you so much. Final thoughts, Jacinta, the call to action. And really, I mean, I know that the position of March in March is, I suppose that you would be leading towards some agreement with the Arts and Culture Minister. How do you intend to take that conversation further? And of course, there's the challenge of needing to do that within the constitutional, sort of framing. And I've got about 40 seconds for you.
40 seconds, okay.
Sure.
First of all, just want to say that nobody has ever emphasized that it should be only South Africans that are employed. But we cannot have a country where it's majority of foreign nationals employed anyway over South Africans. There is a reason why the law has a percentage of foreign nationals that need to be in any single department, and that needs to be enforced. I go back and reiterate my point that we cannot use the law to favor what we want to be favored. The law should be implemented in the right way initially, and everyone here should be fighting for the law to be implemented correctly. You cannot say it's okay to just have foreign nationals, even if they're not providing scarce skills within the means of the law. Because even if you're a refugee, even if you're an asylum seeker, there's still the law that dictates how you should be employed and what the department needs to be complying with in terms of the law, which is something we have not seen happening in South Africa. Also, there's illegal immigrants. We cannot hide from that because a lot of foreign nationals are here illegally, millions of them. There's a lot of foreign nationals who don't have the correct documents. They're fraudulent or whatever the case might be. So if anyone wants to correct everything that's happening in the country, speak about the law in its entirety. Don't be selective in terms of favoring human rights of foreigners, because foreigners also on the human rights of South Africans. Those very same foreigners you fight for, they kill, they do all kinds of things of criminal activity.
Let's also be very careful of making sweeping statements, and I do need to step in there because as we have this conversation, to say things like speaking to us, this is a difficult conversation to wrap up because so important to each and every one of our speakers. But thank you for your time. Yasinta Ngobese Zuma, founder of March and March Movement, Professor Ntsikelelo Breakfast of Political Analyst, Dr. Vusmuzi Sibanda, Chairperson of the African Diaspora Global Network, and Nicole Fritz, who is Executive Director of the Campaign for Free Expression. Let's take a look at just maybe two or three WhatsApps that have come in. Simpiwa says, good evening, Naledi. I support Gayton. He's on point and this must be implemented. How many South Africans are working in Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Malawi, Lesotho? Why did this employment of foreigners employed in our public institutions while South Africans are without jobs? Shame on this ANC that has destroyed our country. Simpiwa, we appreciate your input. Big Joe says Gayton Mckenzie and his party are pushing populist rhetoric. I think as a country we must come up with qualification requirements for MPs and councillors. Our parliament has a lot of uneducated people who end up serving in parliamentary committees, performing oversight only to insult and ridicule educated people working in government establishments. Big Joe, thank you for sending in that text. Ladla says, I'm sure the minister only means the ones that don't have proper papers, but I'm sure our government is not that ignorant to hire people with fake documents. Of course,
this also goes to show that South Africans are really, really hard for. South Africans will not take it any longer. For how long should you continue to accept that we will not be treated as first-class citizens in our country? How long, patriots? One thing that this government really does not try to understand is that should you continue to actually disregard what the people are saying, one day the people will revolt. And when they do, not even the army or the police will be able to stop them. We said, Abahambe, Abdulikis, Abahambe, Yalamucho Oma Hansin. Why are we continuing to talk about foreigners when we have said that we want this to actually work for us? And this is what I actually want. I really, really do want what the other lady has said, that the president needs to call this into order. I want the president to call it into order. I want to see something. The thing is that people think Gayton Mckenzie buys her. And they keep saying, and I keep listening. I'm like, these people really know the president that I have voted for. They really think that he's going to compromise on this. You will see a movie, Yala. You do not know Gayton Mckenzie. To even assume that he's desperate for this. He's there because he wants power so he can continue to be a minister and effect changes in the lives of his people. What more is it that you're asking for? And should more South Africans actually acknowledge they really need to see this so that they can make sure that they vote for Gayton Mckenzie in the upcoming elections. You can't have this. For how long? Guys. We are not kids here. Foreigners are working here while we're not working in their countries. They're overpopulating us. Now we're struggling because of them. Minita yala.